Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the co host and editor of Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Pandora, or wherever. We are where podcasts can be found. If you can, consider supporting our Patreon. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the wild world of foreign animation, K-pop Demon Hunter success, and Ne Zha 2. And now, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And, of course, we've got our Crazy Lemur, Bree.
Hello again. 2 weeks in a row, a record for me.
So we got some big stuff to talk about, particularly the re-release of Ne Zha 2, which I'm so glad I finally got to see. But first, something big that we'd be remiss not to address. For the first time in Netflix history, they had a number one movie at the box office. And shocker, it's K-pop Demon Hunter.
You know what the best part of this is? That probably in the next few days or so, it's going to be the most popular Netflix movie of all times. So then we never have to talk about Red Notice ever again.
Thank God.
I'm perplexed that people think that's the most popular movie. Like, I'm sorry. Do you remember anything outside of that failed Ed Sheeran meme?
By numbers. Which,
Yeah.
you know, like that time, like, I'm not sure if people still think of it now, but they were convinced that Netflix said, oh, this is the new biggest thing ever. But now I think with K-pop, that's probably real now.
Yeah. No, I think there was no way for anyone to truly know that K-pop Demon Hunters was going to blow up as big as it did. I think it helped with a few things, and I'm making an editorial for Media Magpies about this very topic. It helps that South Korean media, like TV shows, movies, music, and food, are still extremely popular, which is interesting considering when this was greenlit, Sony was worried about the what's the term, the bottom falling out with the popularity of K-pop and such.
Which,
Yep.
ha.
That ain't happening anytime soon. Like, I'm sorry, until you tell me that, like, unless I tell you that I am no longer interested in seeing Ma Dong-seok over the top action movies from South Korea, I think everything will be fine, Sony. But it was a bummer to hear that, like, Sony had cold feet with it, and then Netflix came in to help pay for the rest of the production costs and the distribution rights to stream it. I know some people would have said, or like, this thing would have made $1 billion by now, and I'm not.
Like,
No.
no. Because here's the thing, like, K-pop Demon Hunters is like such a specific like anomaly that I'm kind of hoping. I know, like, the reality of it is probably low, but my hope is that maybe for like streaming focused movies that this leads to a trend of like, oh, what if we build an audience, and then if we get big enough, maybe we can double dip.
Here's what I'm thinking. Someone made this comparison a couple days ago. What if, okay, so the first K-pop Demon Hunters was on Netflix and then got like a victory lap theatrical release. What if they do for the sequels, kind of like what they did for High School Musical? The first two were Disney Channel originals, but High School Musical 3 went to theaters.
Which
So
I'm so old. I remember I saw in theaters with my grandma.
nice.
Here's actually a counterpoint. Here's what I think is probably a more likely scenario. They might do what they're planning to do with Greta Gerwig's Narnia film, and they'll give it like a 1-month limited theatrical release and then have it to Netflix.
I could see that. Because, contrary to popular belief, there are a lot of people who do watch a lot of Netflix original movies. And it is frustrating because Netflix is like, we want the money, but we don't want theaters to survive. So we'll take out Glass Onion from theaters. I had a chance to go see that, and then I had to turn it down. And I
Oh
was so mad
no.
about that. And then they'll be like, we're making the best content ever. And it's just like,
The problem is like
no, no,
no.
no.
But for real, the problem is that Netflix is first and foremost a tech company that just got happened to get into like the film business. But the funny thing about it, I don't know how close you are to like the Houston area, Cameron, but
Uh-huh.
instead of theaters, they're opening like the Netflix houses. One of them's opening by me, and I think it's the first one that they're building.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for it, and then I saw where they're doing it. It's like, yeah, I'm in Austin, so it's pseudo nearby.
Yeah,
And
mine's maybe about like 40-45 minutes, but I'm getting the one that has like the one piece escape room. So I'm kind
nice.
of excited about that.
Which is funny
'Cause
because you think with the Netflix house idea, they would put in theaters to screen their
well,
movies on a big screen because some of those
well, they
movies would
do. They
do.
have a screening room. They do have it, but
Oh,
I think it might be for like rooms of popular things. So I think like whatever the popular thing is, they're gonna rotate it in and out. Yeah, I'm on the waiting list. Get tickets. I probably will go at some point because again, it isn't like terribly long for me, and I also kind of promised my nephew like, hey, next time you come visit me, if you want to do this, I will totally take you.
well, it's like there's that article from I think last year that came out about the frustrating production process of making something for Netflix because they're like, we want you to use 4K cameras. We don't want you to use any lighting or whatever because it's got to look good on a phone and it's got to repeat stuff in the script and
Oh
all
yeah,
that
that
stuff.
dumbass article.
Yeah, just showing Netflix being
Right, because Netflix is a tech company. Like, they're not in the business of making movies, they're in the business of pushing subscriptions, and sometimes good things kinda happen by accident
well. That's the
I,
sometimes.
thing.
exactly.
Like if they put the first Troll because there's a Troll 2 coming out, and no, not related to the live action films or the DreamWorks movies, or Extraction 2 onto the big screen. Oh, people would love it. They're made for like big, epic cinematic experiences. And obviously, like Pinocchio and such. And if a Netflix film does get popular, I tend to see the ads when I'm on something like Tubi or YouTube, like that Zac Efron, Nicole Kidman rom com.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like I remember seeing ads for that. And I was like, oh, so they can pay for ads. They just don't.
Well, because if they can have organic marketing, which I kinda understand the logic behind it, but also, like, some things just need an advertising push because, like, not everything can just be like K-pop Demon Hunters and just, pop off like here and there, like, But
Exactly.
kind of getting back to like the whole like theater thing, like the other scenario that I see Netflix doing, like, I don't think Netflix is suddenly gonna be like Ebenezer Scrooge and have a change of heart. What I feel like will probably happen is, like I said earlier, like bigger films that are like already established or like a popular IP will probably get like a short theatrical release. But in the instance, if you have like a K-pop Demon Hunters type of situation, if something just becomes like a big pop culture phenomenon, they'll be like, okay, we'll just give this a theatrical release, to have it be like a communal event, like the sing along was.
Yeah, like a victory lap of sorts.
Yeah, because so my takeaways from K-pop Demon Hunter's success is one, the popularity of South Korean media, culture, food, and what have you. It's the fact that it came out during a time where family audiences were starving. And then it's one of the few US animated films to come out this year that actually has like a clear identity and a story with heart in it, which I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong on this because K-pop Demon Hunters came out on Netflix the same day as Elio, and Elio bit the dust. There are barely
Mhm.
any like fan art, fan videos on TikTok or social media about Elio. all that people know
And
about
that's
Elio.
Disney's own fault,
Yeah,
really.
that like even though people understandably and reasonably hate Netflix for, like I said, good reasons, they want to kill the theatrical industry, and that's not good. And they riz up the Russo brothers, thinking they're always making something amazing when they're not. And but I think K-pop Demon Hunters wouldn't have gone big as a normal theatrical release, and
Yeah,
that's a
not in the
lot
current
because
market, no.
people don't support original animated movies anymore, or as much as they should. Y'all went to see that mediocre Minecraft movie and saw How to Train Your Dragon and Lilo and Stitch, but even like what however you ended up feeling about Elio, you didn't go see an original movie. And
Mhm.
I mean that has its own issues. I'm not saying people are wrong to not go support
Yeah,
it.
you
We
you're
like we
you're
said, we
not a
thought it was
horrible
fine.
person and, like, going to hell if you didn't see Elio.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
no. But with K-pop, it's like it was the only thing that families were wanting to probably watch, and it didn't help that it was on Netflix. And push comes to shove, if families want to save money, they'll pay for a Netflix subscription and watch a movie for free and just make popcorn at home.
That being said, because the movie is as good as it is, and maybe I am just being biased because I love the movie so much, I think word of mouth would have propelled this probably to the same way Elemental was carried
Yeah.
by word of mouth. Like opening weekend, probably not going to be that great, but weekends 3 through 7 or 8, that's when you'll start to see the growth.
But even then, just because of, like, post-COVID, like, the theatrical models basically and shit, and then unless you're, like, a big director like a James Cameron or a Christopher Nolan and basically bully, like, "No, I'm not doing it within, like, the 30-day window. What are you, out of your goddamn mind?"
Right. It's very good that K-pop blew up as it did, and I hope this means that the industry will take the hopefully right decisions and lessons from all this.
Like, they won't
But
take the lesson of, like, "Oh, maybe women and teenage girls like things that happens to appeal to all audiences," like, the Barbie movie didn't happen, like, just 2 years ago.
oh, so this is what happens when we don't cherry pick and note to death a
And we
movie
tell
production.
authentic stories, like,
It
wow,
has
what a novel concept.
I know, and freaking Disney being like, it's too gay, we can't do that. Nobody's gonna relate to this. And it's just like you uh,
And they use
I
the
mean
same
we
excuse for
talk
turning
we
over red, like, "No, no one's going to relate to being a teenager. We don't need personal stories. No one can relate to being Chinese Canadian."
no one can connect to being a teenager going through puberty. Or like with Elio's case, like feeling alone in a world that will treat you like an outcast. It's frustrating that they're going to probably learn all the wrong lessons and such. And it's funny how well this is doing, considering the fact that apparently streaming services are demanding or requesting, like wanting less and less South Korean stuff. And it's like, that's absurd. And I know
Right.
like K-pop Demon Hunters was made in US by Sony Pictures Animation, yada yada yada. That's not the point. Say that nobody wants South Korean films or shows anymore is absurd. And if you're mad about that because I don't know, nobody's watching your American made stuff, well then that's on us. And that's on streamers like Netflix, Amazon,
Yeah.
Peacock, whatever. So
But it's, like, so absurd when you see, like, regular numbers of, like, groups like BTS, Twice, and, like, Blackpink. I mean, Twice has recently worked with Megan Thee Stallion. In fact, like, the one insert song in K-pop, Demon Hunters, is, like, not Megan version of the song, like, that's the alternate version.
I saw the music video for that song at the sing along, which, by the way, I went to the sing along. I had a great time seeing it on the big screen. Nobody sang. I apparently showed up at the one sing along where nobody sang. And it was a theater full of families, children who were all so giddy and excited about it. I don't know if the Alamo Theater I went to just forgot to say, hey, by the way, this is sing along, sing please. Or just like a few parents were trying to shush their kids. And it's just like, the lyrics are on screen. You're supposed to sing. Like,
And like, here's like the thing. I know like kids sometimes can try everyone's patience, but I'm like, if your kid like wants to talk and like walk around the movie theater, like I don't think that's the worst thing. Like, unless your kid is like screaming, I'm like, just let them walk around and just like work it out. Like, kids have a hard time sitting still, and I don't know why people are just such hard asses of like sharing spaces with children.
Like a sing along screening is kind of the perfect like contained environment to let your kids expel all that energy.
Yeah, like if they have to like walk around, like as long as they're not running down the aisles because the child could hurt themselves. I'm like, yeah, if the child wants to wiggle in a seat and just, be woo. Especially since so many of these screenings had like glow sticks, like just let your kid just chill and just be a kid.
exactly. It's so funny how I got stuck with that screaming. And it was funny because when everyone left, all the kids were singing. And then when one other theater that was playing the movie opened up and you could hear, My Little Soda Pop, all the kids got excited again. And it's just like, where was this when I was watching the movie? I sang softly. So it's just, but I got the victory in the end because I got the Huntrix cutout standees that were at the theater today. And
Hell yeah.
I wanted both, but I looked at my studio today and I was like, you know what? I'm glad I got the Huntrix one because why not get the Huntrix one, even though I love the Saja Boys too. So it was the reason why we're talking about the success of this movie is because it is probably the most important animated movie of the year. It's probably going to win or assumedly win Best Animated Feature. I would be floored and shocked if that was the case. If it didn't, I mean. And considering depending on how well Zootopia 2 does, Disney might not make it out this year for Best Animated Feature.
Yeah, like a Pixar, I think is already out of it because, like, I don't even think most would even give it like a pity nomination just because I don't think anyone cares about this movie.
I know, it sucks about that because there were, like we said in podcast, there are great elements to Elio, but it just didn't quite work out, and that sucks. I'm sorry for all the talented people that were working on that then got their work screwed over by executives who have no idea what they're doing.
Because we have to tell universal stories.
Yeah, ugh. Anyway, so because we're talking about this, because the other most important animated film of 2025 is Ne Zha 2. When it came out in January, it made waves. It was a huge deal. It came out during, I forgot which Chinese holiday.
Chinese New
Year.
Chinese New Year. And that's when a lot of Chinese families go to see the movies. And it, along with a few other movies, did super well. But Ne Zha 2 was like so big. It raked up the money. It was gobbling it like it was like there was no tomorrow, and became the highest grossing animated film of all time, beating out Inside Out 2, which made everyone like, whoa, I gotta see this. It had a very small, limited theatrical release in the States in February, and I was so lucky to catch it, and I had the best audience for it because everyone was down for it. Everyone laughed at all the jokes. They gasped, they awed. They were like, whoa, this is amazing animation. Why can't the US make something like this? And it's like, we can, but we got things called executives budging in. So, so then it took way too long for some distributors or maybe the rights holders to Ne Zha to get US distribution, like proper US distribution. So it was weird. Like, I was thinking Neon or G Kids was going to pick it up, but obviously Neon and G Kids were way too busy buying up everything at Con and Annecy. To see A24 pick it up was a shock. I mean, we talked about it. It was a big freaking deal. And then they threw in Michelle Yeoh as one of the main cast members, which unfortunately was the secondary lead of Ne Zha's mom. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Because in China, the two Ne Zha movies are extremely important, not just to cinematic history, but for animation, because even though unfortunately people stereotype Chinese movies and shows and animation as cheap because, the old race is like, it's made in China, that's why it's cheap. And it's just like, okay,
But
we don't
sis,
have time. We
right,
don't have
and
time to unpack that. China has had a rich, bountiful, like, animation history. They were making some great stuff and some things that even Disney, like, during the same time period, was not making. Like, you see some of those watercolor animated films that they made, it's like, oh my god, how the hell did they pull that off? It's amazing what those artists were doing. Then, of course, Chairman Mao came in and said, "We're no more art, no more music, all that stuff. It's all got to be me because I have an inferiority complex and I have an ego. I am pre-Trump, and
it's
I'm
just
going to run this place like a dictatorship. And while I will allow animation to thrive, it's got to be propaganda for the greatness of China." And then after he got the boot, they tried to build themselves back up again, like the industry, and they did make some amazing stuff. But by that time, anime was really taking off. Disney was in their second win of the 90s Renaissance. And then China had like an identity crisis where it's like, oh, we can't make stuff that's connected to us. We got to be like what everyone else is doing. Even though it's like, no, no, you don't have to do that. But they did. And then around 2015 or so, the animation industry in China got a huge boost because they were still making stuff, making CGI films and what have you, but they were all extremely low quality and not very good, including one Cars ripoff that made notoriety all over the world that basically got itself outed as a money laundering scheme. So we'll talk about that maybe never or maybe a special episode. In 2015, they released The Monkey King, Hero is Back, and it was the highest grossing non-US animated feature in China until Kung Fu Panda 3 and Zootopia came out and overthrew it. And then after that, they had like movies here and there that were all generally well received. The CGI they were using was improving. And if I recall, the director of Ne Zha, the first one, had to teach himself how to animate because, like, I think a lot of creatives in China saw how the world was treating them. And it was like, okay, fine, I will be the change that needs to happen. And then after The Wandering Earth in 2018 became the highest grossing Chinese movie of all time, Ne Zha came out in 2019 and just swept the box office in China. It was huge. It became the biggest Chinese movie of all time. It had, unfortunately, the same rollout here in the States. Had a tiny theatrical release. You were very lucky if you caught it. And then it got picked up by Wilgo USA, which was not a big distributor. Still isn't, but I mean, you mostly know them for martial arts movies and such from South Korea, China, and Japan. And then when they were about to bring over Yang Jia, and it also made a whole lot of money in China, 2020 happened. So it's been a bit, but like Chinese animation has been making waves. Like White Snake was a huge hit at Animation is Film back in 2019. People loved it. And I got to meet the director and I thought he was very cool. And then after that, it's just been like, yeah, big movie, big movie, big movie. Then now we are here with Ne Zha 2, and it finally gets a bigger US distributor. It has a celebrity attached to it, which I'm not trying to downplay Michelle Yeoh here. Let's talk about this first. I don't think they needed Michelle Yeoh.
I agree.
The biggest hurdle of Ne Zha 2, which is the fact that I think A24 fumbled the ball here. I think they messed up by not getting the rights to play the first movie again, like on the big screen, like what Warner Brothers did with Dune. And then say, like, okay, now that you're all caught up, here's the new movie. And, like, I guess they didn't want to make a deal with Well-Go USA because they're the ones who have the, like, Ne Zha 1 and Zhang Jia. And, but yeah, it's just like, it's A24. People know who A24 is. Was this maybe too out of their zone for their fans to go see?
It's possible that this is just too outside of their usual jurisdiction. And here's the weirdest part. This weekend, while K-pop Demon Hunters was in theaters and this was put out in theaters, Netflix put the first Ne Zha on the streaming service. You only knew about it if you were following them on Twitter.
Yeah.
God.
Oh, Netflix, you sly lads, you.
So it's just like, I don't know what A24, like, did distributors wait too long? Because it's not like the US market was drowning in family entertainment. You either watched your superhero movies or your soulless, crappy live action remakes of DreamWorks and Disney movies, or you saw Freakier Friday. It's like, it had the opportunity to come out during any time. Maybe not during Superman, but I don't know. I feel like this should have probably come out in April or May.
April is what I'm thinking.
Because what else was there? It's not like G Kids was putting out foreign animated features that were like the big ones that they're going to put out later this year. They were putting out anime recap movies or anime compilation movies. It wasn't like they were putting out 100 meters or Chow or Amelie. And I guess like a question would be, did A24 cheap out on the localization of Ne Zha by only hiring one celebrity? Like, should they have gone a more celebrity focused cast instead of having a bunch of amazing voice actors like Vincent Rodriguez III, Griffin Puatu, Alex Lee? Mike Pollock got replaced. And unfortunately, Stephanie Shea's role as Lady Yin got replaced by Michelle Yeoh. So, I don't know. I think having the one celebrity was distracting, and I think they just fumbled the marketing for this release.
Oh,
This
big
should have
time.
been
Like, the only marketing I saw was randomly when I'm scrolling through Instagram.
You think A24 would have wanted to advertise that, hey, we picked up the biggest animated movie of all time.
Yeah, like, at least do, like, a couple, like, YouTube ads. Like, Jesus.
It's going to be a mystery about this. And what's so odd about this whole thing is the fact that the announcement of Ne Zha 2's voice cast and such, which they got pretty much the same people, except for like Rick Zeef took over for Mike Pollock as Tai Yi Zirin and such. I don't know. It's like one of the biggest gets of all time, but also one of the biggest fumbles of the year. And like, this should have been its second win. But I'm wondering if maybe Ne Zha's 2.5 hour runtime maybe hurt it, which even though I love the fact that it's almost 3 hours, it's not even technically 3 hours. If you want to see a 3 hour movie, I don't know how it got released here in the States, but apparently Shang-On, which is by the White Snake and New Gods studio, is 3 hours. And it made so much money in China. And it was critically acclaimed. People love that movie. And yet, I want to watch it, but I guess G Kids wasn't interested in picking it up, or Netflix.
That's
I know,
wild.
It's funny because everyone is asking for movies to be longer, for better
Yeah,
or
like
for worse.
like Spider-Verse is like over 2 hours, which you know what? I think the main issue is like probably the runtime was a little bit of an issue of like screenings, but the issue was there just wasn't enough screenings. Like almost every screening in my area was like late at night and like 3 show times a day max.
Over the weekend, like Friday and Saturday, there were only 2 screenings available, one at noon and one at like 3:10. On Sunday, because the other screen was taken, I could only go to the one at noon. And I was literally the only one in my theater.
Oh, God, that sucks. But I think we talked about maybe enough for now of the overall marketing mishap and such with this movie. Like, let's actually talk about the movie itself. So, if you don't know, Ne Zha is based off of a Chinese folklore story. It takes place within the same realm of Havoc in Heaven, or, the Monkey King story. Like, Monkey King will actually fight Ne Zha at one point, which is also funny to think about because, spoilers from the second movie, the big thing that sealed the dragons away, like deep into the ocean, yeah, that's the quarterstaff that the Monkey King uses. So we'll have to see if the Ne Zha people make their own Monkey King movie. I mean, granted, we don't need any more Monkey King movies, but I would like to see what they would do.
That actually would be kind of fun to see just the specific crossover of this version of Ne Zha and the Monkey King. I think would be kind of fun.
Yeah. Because, like, the New Gods movies, which are like Ne Zha Reborn and Zhang Jian, are entirely different. They're not connected to Ne Zha 2019 and such. It just so happens that, it's the Ne Zha story and such, which the New Gods Ne Zha movie keeps in the fact that Ne Zha commits offs himself to
Yeah.
to save his parents and such. The whole story is like happens where there's a pearl that splits into two, and one of them becomes like a demon pearl and becomes like a threat to humanity that needs to be taken care of. Unfortunately, with the failure of Tai Zenren, like, and his cohort, like Shin Bao, tricks Tai to take the demon pearl while he takes the other pearl and gives it to the dragons that are trapped underneath the earth. Well, in the ocean and such. And the demon pearl is reincarnated as the new son of this, or general, and his wife. And obviously they find out too late when he is born that, Ne Zha is the reincarnated demon pearl, and becomes ostracized by society because he's a very energetic, savage, violent kid, and everyone treats him like a monster. They say, like, your fate should be dealt with by the gods by killing you and such, which, yo, this guy's a freaking kid. Calm down. Like, heaven forbid a kid be a little proactive and hyper and wants to play games with y'all. Granted, he has the strength of Superman, but if his mom can play the same games that other kids would play, then everyone should be able to also. Which the reaction of Lady Yin and Li Jing playing that, I don't know what it's called, I forget, but like it's like hacky sack in a way. They're saying like, okay, Ne Zha, I'm going to kick it to you, and they just go flying into the wall because of Ne Zha's strength. It's very funny from both movies, and the parents are like, oh boy, you're strong. Okay, good job, son. Even though they're like, which I assume they've changed maybe a little bit of the folklore and mythology with the original Ne Zha story because, like, Ne Zha finds friendship and, to a certain degree, maybe subtle subtext of like a queer romance between him and when he finds out the Dragon King's son, Al Bing, voiced by Alex Lay, in the movie, like they bond and they hate the fate that the world has given the two of them. They don't want to accept their fate. They want to change it, which is a big thing in a lot of these Chinese animated movies. Like Yang Jian is about this deity who's like, I am about to become a like more powerful, more important individual. And he's tasked with killing a kid. And he's like, I'm not killing a kid.
Yeah, that's dark.
And the gods are like, why not? It's like, it's the nine-tailed demon fox kid. You gotta kill them before they cause chaos. And it's like, why would you say this is correct? This is not the right thing to do. Like, man, it's just so funny how you break down these stories and it's like, it's always like, man, what the hell is wrong with the gods? You all suck. Which is
and you know what? I love how that's a universal thing throughout most mythologies. Gods just suck.
It's true.
Like, even in that middling Monkey King movie that Netflix released maybe a year or two ago, they made a point to be like, the gods suck and are selfish people. Like, with the one guy going like, we're going to have an extravagant 200 dish feast. It'll be even more amazing than the one we had yesterday. And it's like, bug off. Again, like I said, a lot of these stories are about pushing back against society and people in powers, choose like pre-deciding your fate. Monkey King is about that. Like, the Monkey King was like originally just a monkey, and yet he gained like speaking human language and martial arts, and yet his people were like, no, you gotta just be a monkey, man. You're not going to be anything else. And the whole Havoc in Heaven story is called that because the Monkey King is basically telling everyone to piss off and stop telling him what he can or cannot be.
I mean, this is crazy. If you think about it, like, I think Ne Zha is still, like, in our Western mindset, is more an obscure deity, but
Yeah,
I think it goes without saying the influence of Son Goku is immeasurable.
Yeah.
exactly. Dragon Ball basically has that as an underlying story.
I mean, that's
All
basically Goku's thing. He never gives up. Like, that would not exist if that archetype didn't already pre-exist. The only thing, like, and I don't want to be dismissive of Toriyama, but he just basically cemented it into like the pop culture zeitgeist.
for like, he reintroduced the Monkey King trope into anime with his comedic action comedy. And, well, comedic depending on what season you're watching. The movies, like, even though they have a lot of comedy, which I think the comedy in the second movie is better than the first one, where the first one is funny, like it can be funny. Like, I love when Tai Yi and Shin Gong Bao are fighting the Demon Pearl, and the Demon Pearl is just like this big crystal monster, and Tai Yi is just like, huh, I got both of your arms. What are you gonna do? Grow more arms? And then it grows like 4 more pairs of arms and starts beating the tar out of him. And then you just see, like, there aren't really that many pop culturally references and such. Like, I know China grew to love Kung Fu Panda, and they really wanted a Kung Fu Panda of their own, which did not happen. And what they did try was awful. Like, the one maybe slightly pop culturally like modernist joke is like when Tai Yi is getting the tar kicked out of him, the Demon Pearl is using 2 of his hands to one of them to hold a mirror up to look at him, and then like brushing his crystal hair back and such. So, because otherwise, unfortunately, like the first movie has a lot of piss and fart jokes. It really dragged the experience down for me because when the jokes weren't that, they were funny. Like this group of bullies who are like, we're going to play a prank on Ne Zha and he's going to like regret messing with us. And it's like, this guy's got a little pissed off God level of strength in his little finger. What the hell do you five kids can do to annoy or screw with Ne Zha that he isn't going to do 5 times over with you?
In the first movie, that scene is just one of my favorites because it's Ne Zha himself who is disguised as one of the other kids who basically comes up with a plan for them and then turns it around on them.
And then, like, the only other, I would say, like, gag that I didn't care for was the fish man who you do see in the sequel and plays, like, a minor role in the story. He was the one who, like, Ne Zha fights, and that's when he encounters Al Bing and such. And unfortunately, Al Bing accidentally gets petrified in the stone by the fish demon man. And Ne Zha just beats the tar out of him. And it's like, change him back. Al Bing is just like this really prim and proper, like fancy boy. And he doesn't like the fact that the fishman's petrification stuff is made out of his mucus and snot. And he's just like, oh God, kill me now. Like the whole time the demon is trying to recover him and such and not make him a stone statue and such. But the action is so good in the first movie. It has great weight to it. And again, like I said, a lot of these people had to teach themselves how to animate. That's amazing to see like this level of weight and dynamic action that we would see in like future releases, like Chinese film releases like The Legend of Kaye, which I can't wait to talk about the sequel.
Oh yeah, same.
And because like for a while people were like, okay, it's the American animation market, the European market, and Japan. That's really the ones you have to follow. And then China comes bursting through the doors like Ne Zha, saying like, well, look at this. And I will say Ne Zha was better than a mass majority of the US animation scene in 2019. Even though, again, the biggest film of 2019 in China could not even get an Oscar nomination. But like, Mike, what did you think about the story in the first movie?
The story was, for the most part, good. I think 2 just eclipses it in pretty much every sense of the word. I liked the first one quite a bit, even with the kind of hit or miss toilet humor. The characters are still engaging. I like the arc that Ne Zha himself goes through and the friendship that he builds with Al Bing was just delightful. And yeah, for a feature debut, Zhao Zi's animation direction is just out of this world.
Yeah, his stuff was just like I said, it's like artists got mad because they were like, nobody sees us as a serious animation powerhouse. And now that's like way past needing of confirmation. Because yes, I would argue that I'm honestly a little more interested in what's coming out in Japan, China, and South Korea than what the US is doing, which, you know, that's on us. But with the sequel, it just gets bigger. We follow up after the death and pseudo-resurrection of Al Bing and Ne Zha because they were basically killed at the end because the gods thought of them as like a mistake. Like, no, this shouldn't have happened. Then, so what happens first is that Ne Zha and Al Bing get their new bodies. And I do love the gag of Ne Zha trying to find, like, hey, maybe I could get a new look for me instead of looking like a little gremlin, which, even though that's like the best part about Ne Zha, is the fact that he looks like a little gremlin. And I love all the different little body type jokes that they go through and such. And then the big pig creature that Kaye rides around on, does like the carving of the new bodies and such, just like gives up. He's just like, screw it, you guys are way too demanding, I quit. And Ne Zha, like one of the best gags in the movie, and sadly one of the few times in this re-release where people laughed, was where Ne Zha is like, you see, it's a work in progress, but I think this is my ideal look, and it looks like crap. Like even worse. And then the parents were like, and then Kaye was like, you know what? Maybe we don't need to mess with the original design. And they're like, good idea. Then they get reincarnated into new bodies, but unfortunately, right around the same time, Shin Gong Bao makes a deal with the dragons and essentially helps open up portals to their town, like where all the demons come out. And this is where Chinese animation differs from American animation. There is so much death in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Were you shocked about how much death there was? Because, like, we're talking about, like, multiple soldiers getting killed, demons dying, and then later on, the true villain of the movie, which we'll talk about in a second, basically, like, molten lavas the entire city, and there are dead bodies everywhere. It basically went Pompeii on this one city.
I was a little taken aback by just how much death was in this, but I also kind of am watching this with the understanding that unlike the US, which studio notes to death all of their animated stuff, movies in China are treated with a little bit more reverence, and
Well, I think it's a big part of their economy too.
you have the government backing your art. They're going to spare no expense. But anyway,
well, and like to be fair, they do have their casual crowd pleasers. Like the Boonie Bear franchise is extremely profitable. They make no blip here in the US, even though they keep getting brought over. But like you look at the box office results of the yearly or bi-yearly Boonie Bear franchise releases, they make so much money. There is no burnout with that franchise, which is amazing to me, because when the bears become less of the main characters in their own movies, it's like I would be a little worried about that. But maybe that's why it works for them. So
as long as that name keeps going, like they'll be set for life.
yeah, exactly. Because and it's not like those movies don't touch upon some kind of dark thing, but Ne Zha is like a little darker than what we normally get here in the US that are willing to go dark. Like I know a lot of people like to treat K-pop Demon Hunters as this lightweight, like lack of substance release, which I think a lot of you are wrong about that. There are so many creepy, scary moments when the demons are taking the souls and
Oh
such.
yeah, the soul sucking and it, especially like the train scene, like they pulled no punches. Like those people are dead. They are gone. They are not coming back.
Nope.
Like even like the creepy fan who did the whole like fan shipping thing with the leads is the first one to pretty much go, or one of the first to go on screen. And here with like Ne Zha 2, like because it's a longer movie, there's a lot going on. Because after the big attack onto the city and the reincarnation process, Al Bing loses his body, and they try to find a way to get Al Bing a new body and for Ne Zha to have his own body back to normal. And they realize they have to go see the gods. Basically, go to like Kunlun, which is, I assume, like heaven per se, or like what's the place in Greek mythology?
Mount Olympus.
Mount
Yeah,
Olympus.
Olympus. It's basically that. Like people travel far and wide to become a deity and be part of Kunlun in its society. And he is told by the leader there, Master Jian Wuliang, that like, hey, we need to get Ne Zha up here to become a deity to help us fight the demon hordes that are invading. And he's like, okay, you must do these 3 tasks. And like, the whole 12 tasks of Hercules and such, the thing. And I'm glad that people did laugh at this first task when Ne Zha is there to take care of a group of, I guess, like,
To be like gophers. I saw the clip on YouTube and they did the meme.
yeah, it's such a good. First of all, that caught everyone off guard, and it was hilarious. People were laughing when I originally saw this. When Ne Zha comes up, like, again, he's in like, he has Al being in his body, and I do love the little, like, oh, we have to find a way so we can both control this body, like, gimmicks and antics. And the fact that when Al Bing takes over Ne Zha's body, Ne Zha has this, like, gorgeous face on him, which doesn't match the tiny little gremlin body, but it's a funny little look at, like, design choice. The meme gag of the gopher bandits and such, like demon bandits, is that Ne Zha is, like, trying to be like, I am Ne Zha, new, like, upcoming deity, and I'm here to take you all down. And bandits don't care. They're just eating. They're just like, whatever. And then he just knocks over one bowl of their soup or chow. And the gopher just looks like, you monster. And then does not a goat scream, but like ah!
The scream.
Or something like.
Yeah, it's the meme, where it's like, it's the gopher and a groundhog is like on a mountain thing and it just screams.
Yeah.
Like, they straight up used the audio. Like, that was actually hilarious.
I love the antics of the Bandit King and his right hand. It turns into that one Looney Tunes short where there's the big bulldog and his, like, yappy little sidekick, and they encounter Sylvester, but there's also, like, a panther loose. And every time the Bandit King goes to fight Ne Zha, he gets, like, the tar kicked out of him. But then when the right hand fights Ne Zha gets the tar kicked out of him. And it's like that Looney Tunes short. The big bulldog thinks he's fighting Sylvester, but then the panther or leopard or whatever comes by and wallops him. But then the panther leaves and Sylvester returns, and then his little yappy sidekick comes up and beats the tar out of Sylvester. It's that whole thing. And then after the right hand gets beaten up, the Bandit King, comes up and he's like, oh no, you're not going to show up, like, one up me on this. I'm going to take care of him. And Al being as Ne Zha punches him, like, right in the area between the upper lip and the nose. And I don't know if you saw this clip, Bree, but the reaction is great. Everyone, first of all, was like, oh, like, that hurt. And then the king just, like, curls up in a ball and starts crying his eyes out. He's like,
Probably the funniest part of that scene.
Though I will say, even though there's some fart humor and one piss joke, I think the piss joke was funny. Ne Zha is trying to find the bathroom in Kunlun, like, at the temple, and he thinks he's found the bathroom. And he, pees it in one of these big like, frog jars. And then it turns out that, like when he's going back with Tai Yi to talk with Xian Wuliang is just like, you know what? We have this great soju, like, alcoholic drink that fills up over, like, 6,000 years or something. We don't really always have something like this, but we found a full jar. And Ne Zha's like, oh no! And instead of, like, of course you get the spit take and such, where he spits the drink in front of the female right hand of Wu Liang. Then Tai Yi does it, and her face looks worse and worse with every spit take. And yet for Wu Liang, he takes a sip of it, not knowing that, of course, there's half of that stuff is piss. And he's just like, this taste, it's very peculiar. Make sure that every other batch is like this. And it's like, oh, God. How did this movie find a way to make a piss joke work? And it helps with the whole fact that, like, Ne Zha is such a crass person that it works when like there's the whole swap between him and Al Being in the body. But then we get like more build up and more world building, like with Gong Bao encountering his little brother while there's like a stalemate between the humans in the village and between the demons and such. Which again, a lot of great jokes. Gong Bao is training, and the demons are like, "Can we stop throwing lava at you? We're tired." And Gong Bao is like, he encounters Li Jing, Ne Zha's dad, and he's just like, he tells the demons to stop, but the demons continue to throw lava at Gong Bao. And he's like, "Stop it, God dang it, no, stop!" And then the demons are like, "Oh, he said stop, okay." Like, there's some great character building here. Like, really, the movie's strength is the fact that there's a lot going on in this whole story, and it might be a little overstuffed, but the main core of it is the fact that, like, for example, Li Jing believes that the gods have the right decision in mind about what's going on. And throughout the whole movie, he's like, you gotta believe what the gods do, man. You gotta follow the rules, the law, everything. Only for the movie to start slowly painting a more morally grave picture when Gong Bao is like brother appears and is like super excited about Gong Bao because he thinks Gong Bao has become like one of the 12 deities and such. And like there's some great like familial dynamics between that because Gong Bao feels bad that he has to lie to his brother. And Li Ying is just like, he basically helps Gong Bao with the lie, but tells the kid like a more deeper, substantial message about like, yes, he's doing great. He's going to help the people here and such. And there's that moment where Gong Bao is like, thank you. But Li Jing is like, no, I didn't do it for you. Your brother needs a good role model. Like there's like a lot of familial dysfunctional aspects of it. Thank God that Ne Zha basically, like the Ne Zha 2 basically says, we're not going to have any of the human side characters. They're all going to decide. And I think they all probably died.
Again, dark.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you didn't like the side characters. That's fine. We'll kill them. Literally.
Yeah,
And nothing of value
literally
was
all
lost.
of them.
Yeah. That's why they had that one moment before Ne Zha and Tai leave. And they get like the one fart joke out of the way. And the bully kids are like, and like, it makes it a little tragic because the bully kids are like, we will be here for you, Ne Zha. Don't worry, we will protect this town. And it's like, oh. And then you find out about the whole what happens later, and it's like, oh. As the movie goes on, like Ne Zha even meets his brothers, and he doesn't feel like, oh, I am not worthy to talk with them. Here, Al Bing, you take over. But there's like regret about that decision. Like, there are so many good moments that I'm sorry that like no real studio outside of maybe Sony would let happen in modern current theatrical animation.
Yeah, it's tragic how this, for a movie that's, how long is this? 144 minutes? It's honestly impressive how much thrown into this movie, and yet it can be overwhelming, but at the same time, nothing really feels out of place either.
Like they're building up the world and such, and it never feels like they're wasting time. And they have so many great character moments, especially when with elements like Ne Zha's regret with not being able to talk to his brothers and hearing what they have to say. And once again, reinforcing the whole like Ne Zha is not going to let people decide his fate or who he is. Same with Al Bing. And by the way, I don't know why I skipped over this. Al Bing's dad gets a human form in this movie. Like in the first movie, he's like a dragon stuck to the seal that's keeping all the demons and dragons under the ocean. And then when you see his human form, oh my god, social media, like, pardon my French, shit a brick, and like all collectively said, oh no, he's hot.
Yep.
He's the one dragon that looks like a zaddy, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. While the other ones have like their own human forms and are obviously very evil coded, the one that's hot is Al Bing's dad. And he helps make this deal with the humans and such where it's like, we will not attack if you go get my son a new body and such. And it's just so funny how people were like, at my first screening of it, were like, I heard women in the audience going like, wow. Like very hello daddy. So, and like in the movie, it gets even more morally, like as it gets morally great, you do kind of pick up maybe the obvious twist of it, and especially if you know your Chinese folklore, because there are like false Buddhas and deities and what have you, like within the story of like the Monkey King and such.
Oh, yeah.
Like the situation of when Ne Zha goes and fights the leopard king, and he's like teaching a bunch of demon disciples about like to be strong, and Ne Zha goes through his whole like poetic Chinese operatic theater entrance of like I am here to be the strongest and I will take you all down. And one of the great turnarounds is the fact that the leopard king is like, that was a very impressive introduction, like I will take you in as one of my disciples. And Ne Zha's like, oh my god, really? And he's like, yes, I will train you for 600 years to then you can maybe be as strong as me. And then Ne Zha's like, I don't got that time. And then like good quippy back and forward between the two. And then Ne Zha just happens to flub a few words. And the guy is like, how dare you? And one of the most amazing action sequences happen, especially with the fact that you find out that the Leopard King can traverse through water as lightning. And when it starts raining, that's like when it gets dangerous. And the fights are so creative. They don't try to copy Kung Fu Panda, because like Kung Fu Panda is fun because it's animals using martial arts and you're trying to figure out how the heck is that going to work. And then throw in Po with having more tangentially Jackie Chan style flavored comedic like fighting. Here, it's like people are getting the tar kicked out of them. They're getting punched hard. And this is when Gong Bao's brother comes back and he thinks Ne Zha is the bad guy. And then you find out that like they do kind of drop a hint that maybe the deities of Kunlun are not doing the right thing for the right reasons when they are like arresting like the bandits from the first mission and then the students from the second mission. And the Leopard King tries to take Gong Bao's brother away, only to get brutally impaled by an arrow by one of Wu Liang's right hands, per se. And it's brutal. There's blood. Like, they die. There's no, oh, I survived this miraculous through the heart impalement of a spear. No. Both characters die. And, like, even at one point, the Leopard King cuts his own hand off because he knows something was about to happen where he was going to basically lose the fight. And you find out that, yeah, Wu Liang is actually doing what is sadly a thing that happens way too many times in this world and in this timeline. Wu Liang wants to seal up all the demons and basically cause a mass genocide. Not because, says this by saying, but we'll make the demons cool and knowledgeable and wise and as great as us, while basically dumping them into a giant jar to turn them into immortality pearls. It's dark. Like, this is a very complex movie that reminds me how in Frozen 2, they hint at the fact that the kingdom was doing a little colonial genocide in the past, but then they wuss out by saying, like, no, we got to keep the castle here. We can't be blamed for the past actions. And it's like, but the foundation is still there.
Ne Zha 2 basically does the Frozen 2 reveal, but actually follows through with it.
Wu Liang is a bad guy, like very evil, sinister. It's so good. Like, he's a very intimidating, imposing villain alongside his two right hands. Oh, god dang it. These are puns. Dioro and Krana. Or Krana. the two right hands, like because like Dero is like I think Artemis, the Greek god of hunting, kind of
Oh,
thing. Like,
yep.
and Krana has like the powers like of a crane and such, and like can control wind and whatever.
Oh, yeah, that
And
makes sense now.
but the names, I just realized it's like, oh gosh, darn it! Obviously, they were demons that were groomed and catered to for Wu Liang's plan to work, to basically sidestep all the 12 deities to wipe out humanity and the demons. I'm not saying there's something you can take away from an American perspective by the fact that all of Wu Liang's soldiers and minions are wearing white, but it's there.
It is there, like, in plain sight.
And some of the great like physical gags are in the like the sequence where they seal up the giant jar and such, which I want to know how they make this movie work, because some of these things are giant. Like the assets made for this movie, some of them are huge and extremely complicated looking. Like with Wu Liang and his tree ability. Like,
Oh, yep.
when you see the giant jar, like it is huge. It is like Jupiter big, or like at least moon size. I don't know how you render all this and animate all of it without basically causing your computers to blow out.
Or how about the fight between the two different armies, and they basically look like giant waves of people. I compared that in my review to the stampede scene from The Lion King, but multiply that by like 100,000.
Like now, Bree, I know you weren't able to fully watch these movies, but were there any scenes or interesting takeaways that you saw from your research of these movies, or at least
So-
something like the second one, maybe?
So, like, the interesting thing that I kind of found with it is just like, again, like the sheer, to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, Cameron, like the sheer scale of everything. I might go on a little tangent here, but
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. A lot of y'all animation YouTubers are racist as fuck in general. I mean, I feel like, again, like this movie, was this ever gonna be like a Godzilla -1 situation here? Probably not, if we're just being honest with ourselves. But I can't tell you, like, I was on Reddit this weekend, and like so many people were saying that, oh, it was a failure, blah 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 blah, like, and just like not getting it.
Like,
I
have you
hate-
seen what America makes? Like, yes, the sequences from the Bad Guys 2 and in Dogman are very impressive. And some of the scenes in Elio are impressive in scale, but look at what Ne Zha 2 is doing.
I
Like-
know, like that's my point. It's just, to me, it's the same mentality of like that. I think it's still here, but like it's gradually kind of dying in the public consciousness of like, oh, anime and like the big eyes and like the body pillows, blah 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 blah. I'm like, it's just reducing like an entire like medium or like culture to just like a punchline. It's like
Well-
so American, and I hate it.
It's true. It's like, I remember Kate talked about this on Blue Sky. She's the co-founder and one of the writers for But Why Though? And she talked about the fact that like marketing companies do not like when you focus on anime, because they describe anime and categorize it as porn. And it's like, if you actually watch the seasonal drops, like all 30 or 60 or 50 shows that come out every 3 months, maybe like 1%.
One or two of them, but like most of them are like shows for children.
Like most of them for children and teens, and most of them are more action heavy and violent than horny and porny, I guess I would say.
Yeah, and like the weird thing is like the most popular anime of all time in Japan are like family shows.
Exactly, especially like Crayon Shin-chan and such, which I am happy that Discotech is releasing the Adult Swim attempt of Shin-chan in all of its 70 episodes. Especially the fact that you get to, I totally forgot, but now it makes sense, that Laura Bailey played.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, she did. Which, God, that era of Funimation was so weird when they were like, oh, we're gonna kind of get into the Adult Swim demo because this was around the same period that they tried to do like the same sort of edgy thing with like Sergeant Frog, and then of course shortly after that, Panty and Stocking.
Exactly. US animation fans are crying constantly about, I want to see something new and different. And it's like, here's something new and different. But they're like, but it's not from Disney or DreamWorks. And it's like, they're not going to make that stuff right
Like,
now.
no. And you know what? They're not going to make that stuff for the foreseeable future because Disney's like, guys, we have an identity crisis. You know what? I know what it's going to fix this. Tron with Jared Leto.
Stop trying to make Tron a franchise, y'all. It's like, stop. I know a lot of you have
And I
Tron
will
2 nostalgia, but
you know, and I'm like a Tron Legacy like defender, but the reason that Disney bought Lucasfilm is because they were gunning like so hard that Tron's going to be the next big thing, and like Legacy like underperformed, even though there was like so much. This is going to be controversial, but I will say that Tron is the Blade Runner of Disney.
yeah.
You know, you're not wrong.
I mean, I know a lot of people love 2049 and such, but really, Blade Runner and Tron were like, just like Blumhouse unfortunately found out this year with Megan 2.0, sometimes it's just good to leave a movie be a movie, like a one-off kind of thing. And I know 2049 is good and popular and such, but
notoriously underperformed as well.
yeah,
Which
so
people are like so shocked. I'm like, because Blade Runner did better on home video and it's more of like a nerdy niche thing, and this shit was never gonna make $1 billion. Like, I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
well, it's like and they're more like philosophical in their stories. They're not like big shooty action movies, which I know they have more there, like in the sequel and such. But it's also like, yeah, but that just seems like an artificial means of just to make it more entertaining to get through the philosophical parts, even though a lot of people were totally fine with the philosophical quandaries of Ex Machina, but they just gotta have someone shoot another person, which is America, such. But whatever. Anyway,
America. Yeah, let me get my beer and my gun.
like with Ne Zha 2, it's like everyone wants Disney to go back to making big villains again. And it's like Ne Zha 2 has like one of the most sinister villains of all time, who is openly and willingly.
And like his design just makes him like that much more sinister. Like, Jesus.
When the twist happens in Ne Zha 2, when you realize that Wu Liang is the bad guy, it is a subtle, well executed bit of animation when he's just like, well, the mask is off. And it is so creepy because you are just filled with dread when that shift happens. And the fact that, like, the huge action and fighting and such with the demons versus the Kunlun army is so epic. Like, this is what y'all want, but you don't want it because it's not made in America. And it's just
just the same argument I make of like every other one who's like, oh, just go indie, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, look, if you want stories that actually cater to like older people, you want to tell like even like adult stories, don't expect Disney, Warner, or DreamWorks to be making them.
like DreamWorks can get away with it sometimes with like The Last Wish and Wild Robot, but they're still going to make a crowd pleaser because
they have shareholders and they're like gonna go for like the easiest 4-quadrant thing possible, which, sorry, a lot of art is like that, especially if you're making art in a commercial space. This sucks, but that's just the reality. There's like so many other extenuating factors. And even for like independent art, like it's just not, oh, I'll just go indie and I'll just make, whatever I want. I'm like, there's just so many other complications, like paying people, health insurance, funding, marketing. Like there's like so many things in the process of like making a movie, TV show, or like any piece of media, really. Ever like make the effort. And I guess that's like the thing to me. Like, I'm not expecting people to like pull $100 million out of their ass and make something great, but I'm like, you could just write. I mean, you could just make something, but no, I'm gonna bitch on Twitter or some
But
shit.
it's like we live in an era right now where there is more foreign and overseas animation coming out now than any time before.
Oh,
Like it
yeah.
took forever for anime to finally like step up to the plate and kick down the doors. And like that's not just a Ghibli movie and such.
To me, I feel like the big moment for, like, anime was 2013, and it's funny that you mentioned "Kick Down the Door," Cameron, because, like, arguably and regardless of what you think of the story, Attack on Titan, like, literally kicked down the door.
Yeah.
It turned into the armored titan and said, "I'm barging through. Like nothing's gonna stop me,
Yeah,
baby."
literally, yes, Colossal Titan, like, kicks down the door, like, if you were not there in April 2013, oh my god, like, you do not understand.
And it just seems like, okay, maybe Chinese animation is not really there yet with the US. And that sucks. There's so much good Chinese animation coming out. Like, even Netflix has like the Scissor 7 franchise. And even though I had to rewatch that one, it was getting to the point when I stopped that I was like, oh, I actually really like this. Like, there are stories of people who work in Japan's animation industry moving to China to work in China's animation industry because it just is better. And a lot of the anime that China puts out are whatever the equivalence is. I don't know if there's a term for it. Maybe someone will tell me. Like you see some of the stuff that 2D animation that's coming out of China, it
Oh,
looks
yeah, some of
amazing.
it's is insane, like, I noticed, like, a couple, like, anime reviewers, like, they'll just regularly, put, like, Chinese anime in, like, their best which or, like, ones to put for because it's, like, so ridiculous, especially since, with a lot of seasonal Japanese anime, your mileage may vary with, like, the animation quality, but you see, like, the shit coming out of China, and it looks like like, how everyone was, like, gushing about, like, Chainsaw Man? Just imagine, like, most of the shows look like that.
Yeah, it's like basically on a consistent basis. And that's basically what's going on with like Chinese animation, feature animation. It is so consistently on par with whatever we can do, like as the best of whatever year and such. I loved watching New Gods Yang Jian at Animation as Film. Everyone there was like, this is so freaking cool. And I would have to find a way to make this work where we can come back in the future and watch like a random assortment of Chinese animated features.
I would honestly love that because every Chinese movie that we've been covering on this podcast since we started has been just like an absolute feast for the eye. I don't know if you can watch the 2023 movie Deep Sea and on any streaming service, but God, that movie is so good.
Go
I'm
ahead.
mad about this is, like, live action Chinese, but, a few months ago, I watched the 2023 Chinese remake of Sharktopus, and that was, like, a really good movie, like, unironically.
Right. No, it's like I forgot what someone said. Like this was around the same time when Mystery Science Theater 3000 was coming back and someone said they should review like some of those Toho movies like War of the Gargantuas. Listen, I know you have to take a grain of salt with a lot of the sci-fi monster movies of the 50s and 60s, but War of the Gargantuas is like a legit good movie.
Yeah, isn't that, like, a masterpiece?
One of the best non-Godzilla movies Toho has ever made. You watch that and it's like, oh, it's a bunch of like Yeti, Bigfoot like monsters fighting. What's the most that can happen? And then it's like this tragic story between two monster brothers and such. And it's like, oh my God, this is great. And there's like so much emotion to it that you don't think about it. And then you become like really enthralled with the movie story. And that's like with this thing here, like with Ne Zha 2, it's like, even though it's funny moments, like later on when they're fighting the bad guy and the three evil dragons that screw over Al Bing's dad are fighting Ne Zha and Al Bing. There's a great funny moment where Ne Zha and Al Bing cause like mist to appear and such to like cover themselves up to like hide their tracks and whatever. And the three dragons are like, okay, let's go hunt them down and kill them, without realizing that Ne Zha and Al Bing took had a shape-shifting spell to look like two of the dragons. And there's this great moment of them just basically fucking around or like screwing with the two of them, being like, that's the fake one. Seashell, she sells by the seashore. Like, what's the rest of the code? And they're like, what? I don't know the code. And then they just get walloped. And the big fire one is just like wrecked by the disguised fire dragon guy. And he's just like, but I'm the real one. How the hell do I not know the code? How am I supposed to know? And then he starts crying. It's like he's supposed to be this sinister dragon, and yet he is breaking under pressure like he's taking a quiz in like 7th grade.
Yeah, like he's just fully crashing out.
Yeah. And then he gets mad at his friend because he thinks he's the fake one. It's like, no, dude, I'm the real one too. It's like, liar, you aren't. You don't know the password. You're the real one and you don't know. Whoa. Am I the fake one? Do I actually not exist? And the guy's like, oh, brother. Like a little existential dread. And of course, obviously, they saved the day. Though Ne Zha's mom dies in one of the most tragic moments of any part of this movie. And about her being like, listen, I'm not going to be here for you, but I've always been proud. I love you. You are great, no matter who tells you what kind of fate in life you should live. And it's great because it's like, not only do they show death on screen, mind you, she gets turned into one of those immortality pills, but like Ne Zha just crashes out. He is crying his eyes out and then just is pissed off beyond belief and turns into like his hot, young, adult looking body to team up with Al Bing. And let's just say this right now. I say it's subtext that it's more than just them being good bros with one another. Because in China, when the government was cracking down on queer culture, media, pictures, memes, and whatever, everyone in China, like who saw Ne Zha 2, flooded China's social media platforms with basically yaoi of Ne Zha and Al Bing. Nice. They say like, "Fuck you! No, we're gonna fight back, man."
You're like you're not gonna censor Ne Zha. Like,
like look
he's
at
a
the
cultural
hot boys
icon.
kissing. And that was always a thing with the first movie, but it got reinforced here hard, especially with the ending where they look beyond the horizon of, well, we got all of heaven against us, Al Bing. And you know what? We're going to be here together to take them down. And it's just like, it is such a I love you, bro moment. I don't know how you're supposed to take it else, like anywhere else. It's not like Ne Zha has a girlfriend so far, or yet doesn't have one. I mean, I don't know the full Ne Zha story. I don't know if he ever got a love interest or whatever. It's there, man. It's like it's the driving force of the first two movies of Al Bing and Ne Zha's relationship and dynamic with one another. And I will say, even though I know some people, and I'm like, Patrick Willems made a whole video about like, we're sick and tired of post-credit scenes. The post-credit scene in Ne Zha 2 is great.
Amazing.
So basically, at the end, with Wu Liang fully like aged to look like a shriveled prune, like with bumps and bruises all over him, along with his two henchmen, Diro and Krena, go to like this secret prison that is holding Gong Bao, who they captured in like during the big raid of the city and such, before the third act happened. And there's a great joke where Wu Liang is like, goes through what is essentially a facial recognition device, and it does not recognize him because of all the bumps and bruises and bumps from getting the tar kicked out of him. And of course, it's like, fine, I will make a new account and profile, and gets his profile redrawn by the guard. And the guard can't help but laugh at him because he looks so yeah, you just got your backside walloped. And they go inside and they start to threaten Gong Bao. Don't you want to be a deity? Want to be a god like us? And it's like, we didn't actually kill your dad, by the way. He's here with you. And they're like threatening him with like imprisonment with like for thousands of years or whatever and such. Only to find out that they got locked inside the prison cell because Wu Liang put the guard into a 10-year sleeping spell, and the ID recognition device does not recognize him. So Diro and Trina start beating the tar out of him to try to shape his face back again. And there are these little moments where Diro and Trina are like actually enjoying it. And Wu Liang just like, wait a minute, are you guys enjoying this? And they're like, no, not at all. But hold on, this bomb needs to be bigger. And then bam! And while this is all happening, Ne Zha's two brothers show up to an empty temple. And they're like, Master Wu Liang, we are here to help. What can we do for you? And there's like no one there. Like literally no one there. And they're like, hello? And it just ends with them like just watching Diro and Trina beat the tar out of Wu Liang. And yes, it's a very long post-credit scene. I understand why people say that. But it got such a huge laugh that first time I saw it. Everyone loved it. It's really a shame because now Ne Zha 2 is out. And unfortunately, like any possible chance of getting a family audience in is gone. School has started. And I'm not trying to be clever and such with saying that. No, school has literally started around my neck of the woods, and I'm sure everywhere else. So,
Yeah, I think the schools by me are starting tomorrow.
so that means that no family is going to see this until the weekend, and then who knows what's going to come out by that point because, oh God, I know we have that Gabby's Dollhouse movie coming out
Oh
in
god.
September. And A24 has been doing this thing where they'll keep like a movie out for a few weeks and then pull it and then force you or want you to buy the movie, the Blu-ray or the 4K from their website and pay more money because we're now a boutique label. And it's like, you're a production company that's doubling down on AI stuff, apparently. So
Oof.
you don't need to act like you're Criterion, buddy. So
Yeah, seriously.
this is such an amazing movie. It is overstuffed. It's got a lot going on. It can feel a little sluggish at times, but I don't care. I am so enthralled with what I saw on screen and the story and the writing, even if the English dub is probably not the best. And it sucks that there's no real way to make the English language, like coming out of their mouths, match up with the obvious Chinese mouth movements.
That's always been a problem with CG foreign animation, where no matter how hard you try, like the lip flaps will never be 100%.
Yeah.
I even noticed this for
Like
the first
I
time.
think in like for like Disney films like more recently, like for certain dubs, like they will just reanimate the lip flaps.
And I know there was apparently one attempt at like some kind of tool to help the mouth movements will move to the dub language. But I don't know if that became part of the like, oh, Gen AI kind of thing. Because I feel like, no, you know what? That's like the one decent idea I've seen. Now, it would be terrible if that thing got out into the public because, woof, we're already dealing with deepfakes, y'all. We don't need someone redubbing our mouth movements to say something else. Ugh.
Right.
So I don't know if that ever became of anything, but it just seemed like a decent idea of what tools and technology can do.
What's really interesting thing about K-pop Demon Hunters specifically is that they actually animated like the mouth movements in like Korean or gave them like Korean language mouth shapes, even though the movie was in English.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, which is funny because I hear like, oh no, man, Mike, I got to bring it up again. It's got the King of the Hill situation right now where people who watch K-pop Demon Hunters in Korean are like, the English version's better.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, so, and that's weird because all things considered, it's like how in Dragon's Dogma, the 6-episode miniseries on Netflix based off of the video game, animated everything in English to the point to where the Japanese language track is actually the dub. Like, it was made for an English audience, and then Japan, I assumedly got it, and the Japanese does not match the mouth movements. Animation post-production is so fascinating, y'all. I don't know if they would have been able to do it, and who knows, maybe they weren't realizing that so many people in the US wanted to see Ne Zha 2 after the limited, poorly timed release of the first one. So, I don't know. It's like, I hope some leg room happens with Ne Zha 2 because it is so important, and I hate how many people are just being so dismissive of its success or trying to find some Dale Gribble levels conspiracy theory about why it did well. Like, it
be
did
that
well because it
China
was a
has
good
like
movie.
a population over 1 billion people
That's
that
why.
have children.
Like, sometimes it's like, people always are like, how did this movie do so well? Like, yes, rhetorically, I can, like, yell into the heavens, why the hell did the Lilo and Stitch remake do well when nobody saw the Snow White remake?
or why, somehow we let Transformers Revenge of the Fall and make over $900 million.
Or Jurassic World Dominion might be $1 billion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, let's just kind of get off of our soapbox a little bit and just kind of reevaluate things.
Look at the context, y'all. There's always going to be context with releases, and the only thing I could say that America could learn from China, Europe, and Japan in terms of storytelling: trust your audiences. They can handle stuff like this. They can handle death. They can handle complex themes. It can be there, and you could still make a family film, a 4-quadrant release. You could still make your comedies. Like, I still love watching Megamind. And even then, Megamind still has its complexity and commentary, especially if you watch the Cinema Therapy episode where they talk about what is it to be a good guy compared to a quote-unquote nice guy and such, using Megamind and Titan as the opposites of one another and such. So just trust your audiences. You don't need to make something vapid or try to do something like with an IP that was never going to be a huge moneymaker like the Smurfs. It'll be interesting to see how SpongeBob does.
I'm curious
Yeah,
about that because
curious too, because the last couple, I mean, if you count this Sandy's Netflix, whatever the fuck that was, like the last SpongeBob movie, I don't think did that good.
Sponge on
the Run got stuck in that real situation of the pandemic is here. Nobody's going to see our movie. We'll sell it to Netflix in Canada and for the rest of the world, but the US had to wait until like it hit a minor theatrical release and then hit Paramount Plus as an exclusive and such. So it will be interesting to see what happens there. But even with Ne Zha 2 getting fumbled here by A24, I still want folks to bring over Chinese animated features. Kids, for the first time in like years, is finally bringing over Chinese animated features with Another World and The Legend of Hei 2. And The Legend of Hei is great. Watch the first movie. It's wonderful.
yes.
And here's like the important thing for why it's important to watch Chinese animation, or at least, respect the medium. So we're all talking about original animation and stuff. And I'm all like in the mentality of like experience everything. If you want those dark movies, if you want deeper movies, if you just want something that's just not what everyone conceives of animation in like the American sense, it has to be like this family, blah, 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 blah. How are you going to get those ideas if you don't start watching foreign like animation? Just find something outside of your comfort zone. Find something that inspires you, and not just animation, just like film in general. And it drives me nuts when people are just ignorant and close themselves off. Because how do you expect there to be something new and different if you just keep consuming the same crap again and again?
Like, this is why I mean, we'll talk about this with the anime podcast between Mike and I, that I don't like how anime content creators and influencers are like, you can't get mad at people watching all these isekai and then make a video talking about why you love trash anime. If you really want the anime industry to get better, you need to be way more critical about the garbage that is coming out. Like, tell them this is not good. And yet they'll be like, this is not good, but it made me laugh, so y'all should watch it. And it's like, no.
Yeah, no, and they do that for, like, cartoons too, of like, oh my god, it's literally just the Velma effect. And you know what's, like, ridiculous for all the isekai? Like, I didn't hear anyone talk about After the Rain. That might have been because it ended up on Prime and Amazon didn't fucking promote it, but that's besides the point. Like, there are seasonal anime that are more, I'm not sure if conventional is the right word, but let's just say, like, more grounded storytelling that isn't just, big sword, big boy power fantasy.
Like, so many people will watch it, and like, it just seems like contradictory to be like, y'all will watch anything. Wow. But you celebrate trash.
The
Of
thing
it
is,
all.
it's like the most normie trash. Like, I mean, you know me. I'm a dumpster diver. And I'm like, I see some of the stuff. I'm like, do you think this is bad? Like, at worst, this is like mediocre.
Like, I get it. The appeal of something to watch something that's so bad that it's fun and entertaining compared to it's so bad that it's bad. I understand the appeal of that, but hate watching and stuff like that just doesn't get anything done. It just makes the industries worse. That's why, for a long while, a lot of the good Chinese animated films were never coming here because all that were getting brought over, like by the likes of Lionsgate and whatever, were just like the cheap family made stuff. And unfortunately, that painted a very bad image of what that world of animation is like. Same with Russia. Like, Russia has another, again, a great history of animation. But if all you know are all like the weird Russian animated films that like Lionsgate put out, especially like the Pauly Shore Pinocchio movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Ugh.
wasn't that Russian?
Yeah. So it's just and boy, did the memeage of that thing go by quick. But
Father, I want to go out on my own.
where I belong. Oh gosh. But anyway, if you haven't seen Ne Zha 2 and it's playing in a theater near you, go see it. Support theatrical feature Chinese animation. Just support foreign cinema. Because if all you're doing is watching US stuff, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Until next time, Bree, first of all, thank you for joining us once again. Where can everyone find you online?
If you wish to find me, I am on Blue Sky at Crazy Lemur. Social. I'm also on Instagram at LemursRoll1. Uh, whenever this comes out, I'm currently in the process of, against my better judgment, thanks Cameron, I watched the new World of Worlds movie. It was, let's just say, interesting to say the least, so hopefully that episode of Lake Crap will be out in a little bit, and you can listen to me suffer listening to, like, even Longoria talk about, like, little robot spiders who go stronger from, like, eating data, that the data gives them intelligence, and just dissecting, like, how stupid that line is.
Good lord.
But
Cameron,
hey,
where can everyone find
Amazon
you?
came to save the day. No, sorry, say that again.
Yay, Amazon. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, Cameron, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky and threads at camsiview.biz. I have my own website called camsiview.biz where I review animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I also do editorials for Media Magpies, your new one-stop shop for media, pop culture discourse, and film discussion. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camsiview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com /Coach K42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com /Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You can escape, so do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.